Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yashai, Bashem Rakok Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to go over the details of Hanukah, as it is the first night of Hanukah, which is the sixth high holy day of the Hebrew Israelite culture. Now, as you can see here, this is the lunar calendar, which follows the appointed high holy days on the months that we observe. Okay, now here in the black section, this is the Gregorian calendar, which the world currently follows. But here in the white section, this is the calendars according to the Hebrew Israelite biblical calendar, which is lunar based, right? The black Gregorian calendar is solar based. Now, right here, we are currently in the month of Kislev, and the way that we can tell this is by going to look at the announcement for the new moon, which is the beginning of the months, made by the apostles and elders main page. Now, I collect these on a playlist, which you can go ahead and look at my main channel, Yeshaya LA. And you can, under the playlist, you'll see the Sabbath Hebrew Israelite lunar calendar. Okay, I'll go ahead and place a link in the description. But in here, you can see I've collected all these announcements all the way back from 2019. And as you can see, the new moon was announced for October 14th. Right? Now, let's go ahead and go back to the infographic and let's read a little bit about this. Hanukah, pronounced Hanukah. It's a Hebrew word for dedication. This is what it looks like, and it's also referred to as the Feast of Dedications. Also, it's known as the Festival of Lights, as you light up the menorah candle on this night. Okay, it says it commemorates the victory in 164 BC that Yahweh gave to Judas Maccabeus and his brothers over the Greek Empire, Antiochus, and the heathen Seleucid army, who then rededicated the temple to Yahweh. And to read about this, you got to go into the book of Maccabees, which we're going to go into these scriptures in just a bit. But it tells a story how during the Greek captivity, because we got to remember the southern kingdom was taken into captivity into Babylon. Then the Persians came and conquered the Babylonians. They let the Israelites go back into Jerusalem to rebuild the temple and then to rebuild Jerusalem. And then what happened? The Greeks, or the Neo-Greeks, the new Greeks, which are basically Edomites that took on their identity, came and conquered the Persians. Now, Alexander, going throughout the land, came across Israel and met with our priest. And our priest pointed out to Alexander that he was actually written in our sacred book, and that our sacred book predicted that he would conquer the world. Now, Alexander the Great also had dreams that he would actually meet the priest, and this is why when he came to Jerusalem, he was enamored and showed respect to the high priest of the temple. And this is why he also let us go about our business, and he didn't bother us, until his death. Now, after Alexander had passed away, it tells you in the book of Maccabees that those who came after him to rule his empire, and that split it up into four pieces, his four generals, that is, that they started to come down on us and started to require tributes of us, right? Basically taxes and resources. And in doing so, they came down pretty heavy upon us, right? To the point where they even made it illegal for us to refer to ourselves as Jews, or really the southern kingdom, right? We could no longer observe the high holy days, do any of our customs, or even refer to ourselves as Israelites or Jews. We had to live and become Greeks. This is again why in the New Testament, when Yahushua came on the scene and the apostles came, they were preaching to Greeks and Jews, right? The Greeks there were referred to as Hellenists. Hellenists were basically Israelites, so-called Negroes, living as Greeks. And why is that? Well, because for about 300 years, the nation of Israel was under Greek captivity, and hence people of our nation started to assimilate into the Greekish culture. So, coming back to the time when the Maccabees were on the scene, this is when the Greeks first started to come down upon us. And in doing so, they defiled our temples, they destroyed the cities, they set up garrisons, and they just did horrible works with us, right? This is another reason why the Lord's going to come down and destroy these Edomites for the wicked things they did to us and all the wicked that they poured upon our people, especially the Hasmonean family, that being the Maccabeans. Well, there is a part of the Bible where it tells us how the Maccabean brothers and their hosts, their army, were able to recapture the temple from the Greeks who had defiled it, set up their own altars to their own gods, right? Zeus and all these other gods that they worshipped. They sacrificed pigs on the altar. They slept with prostitutes within the temple, and all these manner of wicked, defiling acts they performed. Well, the Lord was on the sides of the Maccabeans, and he permitted them to retake the temple. And in doing so, when they reconquered the temple and rededicated it, they cleansed it and they purified it, they issued a decree that the nation of Israel from thenceforth would keep the high holy day, referred to as the rededication, right? Or the dedication. Okay, and why is that? Well, because the temple was rededicated. Well, let's go and read real quick how the temple was defiled so we could understand the context of this issue. This is 1 Maccabees 1:54. Now, the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145 year, they set up an abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judea on every side. This is talking about the Greeks, how they went through and they defiled our temple and they destroyed its holiness. Verse 5, and burnt incense at the doors of the houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. See, so not only did they destroy and defile our temple, but they also burnt the Bible to try to destroy our ways of life, try to destroy our customs. 57. And whosoever was found with any of the books of the testament, or if any committed to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death. You see that? This is why you had many Israelites living as Greeks amongst our people, because these were people who went along with the captivity, that didn't fight against the oppression, that ultimately became captives in their mind to the heathens. And here in 2 Maccabees, it talks about when the Maccabeans were able to reconquer and rededicate the temple. Let's go and read it. This is 2 Maccabees chapter 10 verse 1. Now Maccabeus and his company, the Lord guiding them, recovered the temple and the city, but the altars which the heathen had built in the open street, and also the chapels, they pulled down. And having cleansed the temple, they made another altar, and striking stones, they took fire out of them and offered a sacrifice after 2 years, and set forth incense and lights and showbread. When that was done, they fell flat down and besought the Lord that they might come no more into such troubles. But if they sinned any more against him, that he himself would chasten them with mercy, and that they might not be delivered unto the blasphemous and barbarous nations. This is the point. Now upon the same day that the strangers profaned the temple, on the very same day it was cleansed again, even the 25th day of the same month, which is Caslu. And that right there is what we're currently at today, on the 7th of November. Okay, because you see, let's go and zoom in here. See, though this is referred to as Kislev, right? This is what the Babylonians refer to it. We call it Caslu. Okay, and like I shown on October 14th, 2023, this is when the apostles, who are the high priests of Israel today, right? They would be the official timekeepers of our nation. They announced the new moon, which is the beginning of the month. Okay, hence Kislev, the first, the new moon, which is also a Sabbath, started on this day at night, October 14th. Right? See, this is the night. This is the next day. So it goes on, and it says, so Kislev first goes through, and on the 25th day, the 7th, which is up here, at night, because see, this is the 8th on the day. This would be November 7th day, and then November 7th at night. That's right now where we currently are at. This right here represents midnight. So this is the first day of Hanukah, and it's going to go all the way throughout the week until the 8th day, which is going to be the 14th at night. When the sun sets, okay, that's when the Hanukah, the 8 days will be over. Now, what do we do for Hanukah? Okay, now we don't have a physical temple to rededicate, but we do have our spiritual temples. And what is our spiritual temple? Well, let's read it. You get that in 1 Corinthians 3:16. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? You see that? Our bodies are vessels for a spirit that can come into us, okay? We have our own soul, but also the spirit that we allow into us to influence us can be that of the righteousness, which is the Holy Spirit, which only comes into us if we purify our bodies. And how do you purify your body? Well, by taking heed to every word of the Bible, right? Meaning you study the Bible, you get into it, you listen to it, you read it, you basically meditate on it, okay? That's what meditating on it means, that you basically constantly keep thinking about it. And in doing so, what you start doing is you start to, build up this faith, and that faith is going to ultimately bring the Holy Spirit into you, right? And again, remember, the Holy Spirit ultimately is the understanding of the Bible. So again, when you're studying the Bible, you're watching these lessons, you're building up more understanding. You're understanding breakdowns more and more, and in doing so, you're getting more faith, and hence the Holy Spirit's growing in you. Now, on the opposite side, right? Let's say you do things like eat pork. That's like basically sacrificing a pig upon the altar of the temple. The Holy Spirit's going to flee away from that temple, just like it'll flee out of your own body, your own vessel, if you defile it. This goes with the same thing, like if you eat shrimp, you do other abominable things, right? Things that the Bible tells us not to do. This is why you want to rededicate the temple, right? You always want to purify your temple. And how do you do that? Well, like I just mentioned, right? You learn, you watch these videos, you pray without ceasing. Again, Akim, always be praying, always be praising, the Lord, right? There's not a day that goes by that I don't throw up a Kahalaya Bashim Shai when I see 144 somewhere, or something brings me to the remembrance of how blessed I am. I'll throw up a whole Brakat Yahweh, Brakat Shai, Bahashim Rukakwadash, right? Which is bless God in the name of the Messiah, in the name of the Holy Spirit, right? You should make this a habit, and in doing so, what you're doing is you're cleansing. You're throwing up praise, but also in your prayers. Again, you should be praying when you wake up and when you go to sleep. And what I do when I go to sleep, I always ask the Lord to forgive me for all my sins, in the name of his son, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rukah Kodash, right? And I do that as the very first thing I ask for when I pray. Then I go on and I'll say the Lord's Prayer, and then I'll go on and I'll have a personal conversation with the Lord, right? See, this is how we rededicate our temple, our body, right? You purify it by getting rid of sin, and also by performing acts which make you, not defile yourself. Like I said again, by observing the dietary law to the best of your ability, observing the no sex on the Sabbath, observing, no smoking, those type of things. Okay. So now that you're able to rededicate your own temple, what other things should you do? Well, it tells you here. It says, light all 7 arms of a menorah for 8 days. So again, today we're in the first day. And what you want to do is, if you have a menorah, you should light it up. Say a prayer. I have up here called a prayer for Hanukah, right? Basically just gives a real quick prayer that you could say. Now again, you don't have to say this prayer. You could, ad-lib yourself. You say your own prayer, right? But what you want to have it based upon, this holiday, okay? And remember, this holiday, it's a holiday of feasting. It's a good, it's a festival, okay? So other things besides lighting the candle, or the candlestick, menorah, for 8 days, what else do you do? Oh, and by the way, real quick, I just want to clarify this, because this wasn't made clear to me at all when I got into this. Nobody told me about this. I had to find this out by myself. Even though the apostles had made videos, of course, they make thousands of videos and they're all hidden. But it wasn't until, I got in trouble for this. So this is why I want to make it very clear. We only have the 7-arm menorah candle, right? The 9-arm menorah candle, that is something of the Jewish people, right? Amalek, Edom made that up. There's no such thing as a 9-arm menorah in our culture, okay? That's not something from us. That's something that these heathens created and try to bring in, okay? So if you have a 9-arm menorah candle, break off 2 of those arms, okay? We only observe the 7-arm menorah candle, which represents the 7 angels that represent the 7 churches, okay? So just wanted to make that clear, Akim. The next thing, it says, light the entire menorah each day for the 8th day. So again, unlike the Jewish people where they light one a day, right? And on their 9 candlestick menorah, we don't do that. We light the menorah, the entire menorah, each day for 8 days, okay? And it tells you here, it says, enjoy a feast and mirth for 8 days. Now, that being said, this is all subjective, right? If you just want to have a good meal with your family, your friends, then you do it, right? But make sure that you're having a feast, right? This isn't a solemn assembly. You don't have to, be afflicting your soul. This is something for us to enjoy, to be festive about, to be happy that the Lord gave our forefathers a miracle to where they were able to rededicate the temple, and thank Him for the miracle that He's doing nowadays, right? Letting us be able to rededicate the temple that our enemies, these Edomites, had defiled for so long, okay? Now going on, it says, read 1 and 2 Maccabees over the 8-day period. Now, that's a lot of reading, but again, if you can, might as well do it, right? Go through and read the Maccabees. It's a great story. It talks about the Greek captivity, and it gives you a great understanding of what our people went through during the time when the Edomites came and first conquered us. And then last, I just want to bring this point out, right? This right here shows that that the Hanukah and also the Apocrypha, for that matter, are a legit book, because it tells you here in the New Testament that the Messiah himself celebrated Hanukah. But again, they refer to Hanukah here as the Feast of Dedication. It tells you, it says, John 10 and 22, and it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter, right? See, so just as it's winter right now, it was also winter back then. See, so we are celebrating in the right time of year and celebrating the correct high holy days that the Lord has commanded us, Akim. So hopefully this video was edifying. Kahala Yahweh Bashem Shai, Tawab, Hanukah, and I hope you all can enjoy this high holy day. Till the next time, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh Bashem Shai, Bashem Kodesh. Shalom.